exercise, what is exercise? Exercise is medicine. If you talk to a nutritionist, they'll tell you food is medicine. Point being is Hippocrates, who was the father of preventive medicine, and that's what our practice is. I'm an internist, but we practice integrative medicine with certainly a preventive approach, and it's very personalized how we approach our patients with regards to improving their quality of life and longevity. But essentially, Hippocrates said all parts of the body, if used in moderation exercise, in labors to which each is accustomed, they become healthy and well-developed and age slowly. So he was really a father of preventive medicine, but also I think the father of anti-aging medicine. Let's see what's going on there. So this is the way I approach exercise. Functional exercise focuses on performing a determined type and volume of intensity of exercise, resulting in beneficial physiological adaptation of the immune system, cardiovascular system, endocrine system, the metabolic system, etc. What I like to do when I'm sitting in the office is I'm sitting there thinking about the patient's risk factors and how I want to prescribe, and I don't use prescribe in the office. That's a four-letter word in the office. We don't really want to go there because that's all of a sudden a punishment or something they have to do, and we don't want to approach it that way. But when I look at a patient, I'm trying to determine how much cardio they're going to get and why. Is it treating hypertension? How much resistance training are they going to get and why? We do testing in our office. You're going to see in a little while. Looking at strength and its impact, or lack of strength and its impact on mortality. So what is the state of exercise in the world right now? Certainly in the States, when you look at the World Health Organization, these numbers are off. These are questionnaires sent out to the population, and I think everybody's kind of fudging those numbers. Nobody wants to fess up really that they don't exercise they exercise as little as they really do. This I pulled up is the UAE, and it says that 32% of the population here is not getting the required 150 minimal minutes of moderate exercise on a weekly basis to decrease their overall risk in mortality. Does that sound accurate? I think it's the opposite. Yeah, in the States it says 25%, and I think it's the opposite. We have worldwide the diabetes epidemic. We certainly have an obesity epidemic, and I just think that there's certainly the percentage of patients that don't exercise is enormous. So they do follow up by saying that states that the physical inactivity is the fourth leading risk factor of global mortality, responsible for about 6% of deaths globally. So lifestyle-induced aging and the effects of inactivity, as Dr. Houston mentioned this morning, there are reasons why we develop cardiovascular disease: free radicals, oxidative stress, inflammation, certainly glycation with advanced glycation end products due to insulin resistance and blood sugar control or lack of it. And if you look at this list, you came here for the next couple of days and you're going to be sitting 8 hours a day, and gently you're nudging each one of these risk factors sitting, if you think about it. And the latest literature is looking at intermittent exercise. So somebody who lives a sedentary lifestyle, an office worker, has a higher mortality than probably anyone. So when we sit, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we telling our skeletal muscles when we're sitting right now? I'm in a gravity-free environment. They're not working. Your brain is do that for 20 years and you end up in Dr. Houston's office or Dr. Monaco's office or my office with metabolic syndrome, diabetes, and early cardiovascular disease, whatever it might be. But that sedentary lifestyle is an enormous risk for increased mortality. So intermittent exercise. We teach our patients, certainly if they sit all day long, they have to get up about every 15 minutes. You're going to see more and more literature looking at intermittent exercise. The latest literature on intermittent exercise, I'm getting off track a little bit here, is the fact that if you look at the national guidelines for a healthy lifestyle, 150 minutes of moderate exercise, that's cardiovascular exercise on a weekly basis, or 75 minutes of vigorous exercise, or a combination of the two, which most people don't have the time to do that. It turns out that if you decide So you know what? I sit all day. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start running. I'm going to do that 150 minutes a week. It turns out that you do not neutralize that increased risk of a sedentary lifestyle of sitting 8 hours a day. So that's the point of getting up about every 15 minutes, turning on your muscles to say, hey, you know what? I'm not in a gravity-free environment. I'm not going to start getting start muscle atrophy. Your brain's going to start saying, oh, I need those muscles. They're not going to send signals to your skeletal muscles to atrophy the muscle fibers. So we look at lifespan. And in late Paleolithic era, somewhere around 50,000 BC, we lived to about age 25. And it wasn't until the last 100 years or so that we increased our lifespan. Why do we live at age 25 only in Paleolithic era, where we were hunter-gatherers, pretty much external environmental issues, forces, if you will, predators, freeze to death, starve to death. Today, so these are external factors that are affecting our lifespan. Today, when we're expected to live to 83 years old, but genetically, we are probably programmed to live, I'm not the expert in that area in terms of looking at the projections, but 120 years old, that we are self-inflicting that potential to be able to live to our fullest lifespan right now. And that has to do with exercise, nutrition, stress, et cetera, and sleep. So let's look at it from a genetic perspective. This is, I love this article. It was in the Journal of Physiology, and it looks at exercise and gene expression. And essentially what it's saying is we have the same genes that our ancestors had, our Paleolithic ancestors had in about 50,000 BC. We're hunter-gatherers. And those genes required us to periodically rely on a certain amount of intense exercise for a short period of time. The fight or flight type of idea. That's why, in my opinion, and if anybody's a marathoner, I hope I'm not offending you in this room, but long distance running is not the healthiest way to improve your longevity. So what happens is we have a failure to maintain a homeostatic signaling to the gene expression at the Paleolithic level that turns on aging genes, turns off anti-aging genes, and it also causes inhibition of health-promoting genes. So what we rely on for survival and gene expression is a certain amount of intermittent exercise, and this is part of the, I'll use the word again, exercise prescription that you're going to be you address with your patients. The metabolic, the change in your metabolic health using something like high-intensity interval training is much more effective than long-distance running, for example. It turns out that it's going to be very effective in blood sugar control because the theory is there is a selective insulin resistance at the skeletal muscle level when we're sedentary. So your body's very smart. It's basically saying, my muscles are not moving. I'm not going out and chasing anything to eat. I'm going to sit here. I'm not going to let that blood sugar or that glucose actually enter my skeletal muscles. It doesn't need it. What does it do? It shifts it into fat cells. And this is really key because if you look at the literature or you look at any headline and it says, why are we obese? Why are we so fat in this world? How much is diet and how much is exercise? Who wants to take a crack at that? 90-10? If you look, 90% diet, 10% exercise? 30% exercise? 70% diet? You know, I don't know if there's an answer, but I can tell you from experience, I think it's about 50-50. And this is the reason why. Everybody's looking at, okay, well, if I eat that donut, I have to run 2 miles. Everybody's looking at caloric expenditure. That's not the answer. What we're looking at is improving our metabolic health, the ability to utilize the calories that we are putting into our body and metabolizing them into the mitochondria making ATP.